right, well, this Sphinx, Cairo, rates more than we do. The president clearly more worried about goings-on in the land of the pharaohs than here, the land of the spies, because he was quick to meet with top advisors in the Situation Room on Egypt, but has yet to call a similar powwow with the same team on all of these NSA messes here. To Rob Basso, Sascha Burns, and Lindsey Piegza. Lindsey, we're told that the president is on top of these various NSA matters, but you don't have to call these big meetings about them. But what do you make of just how this looks?
Well, I think this is a classic case of political misdirection, an attempt to regain some of these approval points. As we know, the president's been under immense scrutiny at this point, so he's taking this opportunity to appear presidential. He grabs some high-ranking security officials, goes to the the Situation Room, and pontificates about what should be done abroad. And of course, this is done on a holiday, too, so the president appears very hardworking, foregoing any festivities for the 4th of July, and calls for the direct and transparent plantation of a democratic government. But the problem is this appears very disingenuous, as the lack of transparency for this administration is something that many would rather the president address rather than focusing his efforts abroad.
So, Sascha, our Democratic strategist here, you pretty much agree with all of that, right?
Absolutely, 100%. Neil, NSA surveillance program is not a scandal. It's an important discussion. It's a policy controversy or dispute, but there's no misconduct. This is a law that was passed by Republicans, that was enacted by President Bush.
But you don't think it's a law that's now on steroids?
It's no different. It's just been carried out by President Obama.
Way beyond what was supposed to be, you think? Because I've heard from Republicans and Democrats who fear this was not the original intention.
When it was passed again, reauthorized, this was part of it. There is judicial oversight. There's no misconduct. It's an important discussion. Do we want privacy or protection? I think we all want privacy until there's a terrorist attack.
Were you for the Patriot Act?
I wasn't.
Okay.
I wasn't.
At least you're consistent. So, you know, here's the issue, Bob. We've now gotten word that the post office itself is taking images of our mail. Not opening the mail yet.
160 billion pieces.
Right, right. I didn't know I got that much from Hickory Farms, but apparently I do. But my point is that they're examining that. So I'm wondering for the next surprise and whether that doesn't warrant at least a meeting as an update as to how far we've taken the Patriot Act.
You know, from a small business owner's perspective, it seems like we've taken it too far. You look at the companies like Google, you look at the companies like Apple that have been strong-armed into supposedly supply information which we thought was private to the government. Now, we might have given the government these powers, but I don't believe the American public knew how much we've actually given away. And I think that's what we're going to find ourselves in, and it's going to continue to get worse unless we look at the picture. Look at that beautiful picture of Obama with all his top advisors there. It was the 4th of July. I would have liked to see a picture of him meeting with those same people for the NSA scandal, for the IRS scandal, for jobs in America.
Well, we don't know whether they had small meetings about it, but obviously they didn't issue a picture of said meeting. They did this one. So, Lindsey, what are your concerns now?
My concern is, why is the president addressing what's happening on the international front and not addressing what's happening here in the domestic economy?
But you would acknowledge that this is a pretty big deal, a change in leadership forcibly, that the upending of a democratically elected government in a country that's pretty vital, right? He should be meeting about that. But the president should be able to balance and be able to meet on more than one issue. It shouldn't be picking and choosing and saying this is more important than what we see in terms of the NSA scandal. Well, do you think Cairo's more important? What's going on there? We paid billions of dollars to this government that was democratically elected there, and now it's money down the drain. Shouldn't they be meeting? I think they're both very important, and they certainly should be meeting regarding that issue, but they need to be meeting about more than one issue. They're very different issues. We can't say one's more important than the other, but the president needs to be able to meet on more than one issue and be able to debate that. And we shouldn't have been waiting for weeks, for months for this to happen. The president should have gotten out in front of this immediately. Is it too late to get in front of these other scandals, Sascha, or what?
Well, back to the fact that it's not a scandal.
Well, I'm widening it out to IRS. I'm widening it out to justice. I'm widening it to this impression a lot of people, fairly or not, in polls, that this administration can't be trusted. How do you de-stick an impression that's beginning to stick? You know how? You spend all your time being political and responding to Republican investigations about things that aren't scandals, or you're presidential and you deal with the ill-timed July 3rd European or Egyptian coup. So you're giving them the benefit of the doubt on this. You don't think there's anything awkward or unusual going on? I think we should have a conversation about privacy, but there's no misconduct.
I think we can give them the benefit of the doubt that he was there dealing with this international issue, which does matter to America, to a lot of Americans, not just Islamic Americans, but Americans in general. But you take a look at the IRS scandal. Why does Lois Lerner still have her job? She's on a paid vacation, basically, right now, because you know why? Because it's impossible to file
a worrisome narrative to you.
It's impossible to fire a federal employee.
Well, Lindsey, does that feed this worrisome narrative you hear about that? I don't know. This doesn't look right.
You know, it really doesn't pass the smell test in the sense that the president's really been quiet up until now about issues that the public has been clamoring for some sort of conversation surrounding. And all of a sudden we do have this international calamity, and the president is very quick to jump in front of that and say, I am the president of the United States. I'm acting very presidential. I'm here. I'm meeting with my security members. And it really doesn't bode well that he would just negate all of these domestic issues and then get out in front of this international calamity. Not to say that it's not important, but we want to see him address both.
It could if he sat around and had meetings about it like you want him to, or he can be presidential. I mean, it's the brilliance of the creation of a narrative by the Republicans.
So when George Bush was being presidential on wars that you were not a fan of, and many were not, what's the difference?
I didn't say that I think that the NSA's surveillance program is right. I said that's a discussion about the law, not about the president.
We shall see. I'm going to take this up with Henry Kissinger, my special guest, on Monday, and I will not do my famous Henry Kissinger impression. I'll save that for the interview.